I promise you, I'm not trying to break the internet today. I just want you to watch the video. Hey everybody, this is Matt and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for watching. So I know I have a really salacious title today and I think it's gonna upset some people, but before you start shooting me a bunch of hate in the comment section, I implore you, please watch the whole video and try to understand where I'm coming from with this. This is coming to you from more of a manufacturer's standpoint than a historical recreationist standpoint. I want to tell you a little bit about what I've done and why I love the Les Paul. So let's just get right into it and watch the whole video before you throw a bunch of shade at me. So I've been building guitars since 1989, and I don't know how many Les Paul style instruments I have built with carved tops and set necks and binding and all that stuff, but I know for a fact it's in the double digits. If you include all of the workshops that I have done with people where we've built Les Paul style guitars, I know it's over 100. So I have a little bit of an idea of what I think from a manufacturing standpoint, the Les Paul could have been / should have been, but I'm in no way an expert, okay? I know that there are a lot of people who know more about this guitar than I do, but what I can tell you is that no one loves this guitar more than I do. I love the Les Paul. I've owned a bunch of them and I think they're cool and I think they're neat. I love the way they look, I love the way they sound, I love how heavy they are, I love everything about them. But if I could change a couple of things, I believe I would make the guitar easier to manufacture and better, more durable, etc. So let's talk about what those things are. And I've got a couple of visual aids here, including this one. I want you guys to remember too that if you want to come out and build a Les Paul style instrument with me here at Texas Toast Guitars, the workshop that you want to sign up for is our Ultimate Les Paul workshop. And well, I'm going to show you what you get here, and I'm going to tell you that it's a lot of fun. Okay, without further ado, on with the show, right? I think that one thing that everybody can agree on is that the Les Paul headstock is a little on the fragile side. How about that? I think that if you were to ask people and they were honest with you, they would say they're a lot on the fragile side and they break often. There are many theories that you'll find on the internet. One is, you know, the truss rod access cuts away too much meat, the way that the grain is oriented, et cetera, et cetera. Some people will say if you added a volute to the back of the headstock, that would fix everything. I don't believe that it would. I believe that if there's a problem with the Les Paul headstock, it's that the neck angle is too much. Now, even Gibson knows this a little bit, okay? So the original headstock was, I think, 17 degrees. The current headstock is 14 degrees. I've gone and I've taken half of that. And when I build guitars with an angled headstock, I use a 7-degree headstock. One, because that's more than enough for what you need the headstock angle to do. And two, it strengthens this headstock area considerably. Adding a volute may or may not do what you want it to do strength-wise, but it would do something. But I don't think that it's the be-all, end-all fix for the Les Paul headstock and it breaking. You will notice that I have changed the truss rod adjustment cavity. We don't do it like Gibson does, we do it slightly different. This may have some impact on strengthening the headstock, but the real takeaway from this is Gibson uses a tool called a spot facer to make that channel with a flat space for the adjustment nut to compress onto. And if you make the headstock shallow and 7 degrees like this, your truss rod access would probably begin out here instead of closer to the fretboard like it does on the Gibson, given the angle of the headstock. So anyway, if you take and make the headstock angle thinner, it strengthens it. If you modify your truss rod access point. It may strengthen it if you decide to add a volute or not. I don't think it's, I think that altering the headstock angle is definitely a good thing. There's also some ecological reasons to do that. One of them is a standard neck blank like this from our good buddies Dan and Calvin at Tonewood Experts. This is a 30-inch blank. You can get 2 necks from this blank, and the way that you do that is you cut it in half and you get the headstock angle and the heel as well onto one neck blank. Now, someone is very clever and is going to say at Hamer, they used to get 2, and the way they would do that is they'd have one neck going this way and one neck going this way, and that is 100% correct. However, the neck blank has to be longer to do that. So, like I said, using a 30-inch standard neck blank, you actually get 2 necks for the price of 1 doing it that way. If you started with a 30-inch neck blank, I think that you would only get 1 neck if you had to have a 17-degree headstock angle. You'd need to have a longer neck blank to get 2 with that kind of headstock angle. Someone very smart is going to say, what about a scarf joint, Matt? You could save a lot of wood by doing that. Maybe. I don't think you're going to save as much wood as you think, and scarf joints kind of suck. I don't think they look cool. I don't think that they're any stronger. I kind of think I don't like them. If you like them, then I apologize for saying they suck, but that's just me. Remember, on a Les Paul, you need to have a heel that's 1.5 inches tall from the bottom of the heel to where the fretboard surface gets glued. And so when you do that, if you imagine this is the only waste wood that you have. Now, obviously, this is a mahogany neck and this is a maple. So you don't really cut away that much. Or you don't really have to toss away that much material, and so any wood savings that you get with a scarf joint is offset by the time that it takes to do a scarf joint, and I just don't think it looks good, and that's just me. But yeah, the scarf joint, no. 17-degree headstock angle, no. So your standard mahogany neck that's 1.5 inches thick will allow for a 7-degree headstock angle, and that's perfect. Okay? I have decided that for as much as I love the Les Paul, one of the things that I think would make manufacturing the instrument a lot easier is to alter the neck pocket. Now, I'm a believer in what I call the wedge fit neck. Okay, now there's lots of other things that you could call this, but I call it a wedge because it's wider here than it is at the end of the neck pocket. Okay. I'm going to catch a little bit of flack for this because I say mortise and tenon. Some people will pronounce it differently, but the standard Gibson neck joint for the Les Paul is a mortise and tenon. And it's a tricky joint to get right in a modern manufacturing kind of a setting, okay? I'm not suggesting that you can't be done. I'm not suggesting that that people aren't smart enough to do it. But what I am suggesting is that in a manufacturing set point, or in a manufacturing setting, this style neck joint is superior in every way, except one. And we're going to get to that. So anyway, I have decided that the Les Paul neck pocket should be angled, and in this case, this neck pocket will be angled to 4 degrees. It will be 1.5 inches deep. Actually, it will be as deep as the neck heel is tall, and it will look a little bit like this, okay? And in fact, this one needs to be massaged a little bit, but you can see that the binding goes almost all the way down to touching the top of the guitar. When this guitar gets finished out, the neck will get set in so that the binding is, if you will, riding on the top. Now, if you use a mortise and tenon, there's a couple things that are at play here that you might not realize. One is that this section of the fretboard and this section of the fretboard actually get glued to the top of the guitar. If there's a gap between the bottom of the heel and the top of the neck pocket, the neck can only go so far down because the neck will be stopped by those parts of the fretboard. So if you get that wrong or the angle's off, your neck's going to be kind of goofy. If you've ever seen the way that a Gibson guitar, if you see like a cross section where they cut it, some of those neck pockets don't look that great, and some of them have a pretty significant gap in the between the neck and the neck pocket, between the bottom of the neck heel and the top of the neck pocket. You don't want that. You want as close as a one-to-one fit as you can, and mushing in a bunch of glue and sawdust is not the same as a one-to-one contact with wood to wood. So the wedge fit neck gives you a very, very strong neck, and it also is easier to do, okay? And from the top, from the bass side, you won't really be able to tell that it's not a mortise and tenon. So some other benefits to this. One is just the mass of the joint. You can see that this neck pocket will go all the way into the neck pickup cavity. And it's giant, and it fits in there nice and tight. So if you're one of those guys who says, "Oh, I like the deep set neck tenon," guys, this is this is as deep as the deep set neck tenon, and gives you many cubic inches of extra glue joint to work with. So the wedge fit is almost superior in every way. There's one spot where it's not, and if you're a traditional Gibson guy, this might be a deal breaker for you, and I understand that. It's right here. And essentially what you don't get is this 1 1/8 inches of extra binding on the treble side. So if you can get past that, you can see here, this area on the standard mortise and tenon is bound, okay? If you can get past that, then you actually have some other pretty neat things that you can do there. One is your neck pocket got a lot easier, and it's a much more simple and much more elegant solution, I think, to the Gibson mortise and tenon style neck joint. The other thing is, okay, now you got to remember, every guitar that I pick up, like if you bring me a guitar and say, "Hey Matt, check out my guitar," this is the first place I'm gonna look. So you have to take extra care to smoothen this and really make it look good, really make your neck joint on where it meets the cutaway on the treble side, make that look nice, okay? So that's some things that I would change. Another thing that I think is definitely cool on Gibson guitars is plastic binding. But if you decided to not go with plastic binding, like we're going to not do with this guitar, you can use reveal binding, which, as cool as plastic binding is, guys, I think reveal binding is even cooler. It's certainly easier to do, and you get if you have a nice piece of flame maple like this, it actually shows through as part of the binding, so you get kind of a flamey binding, which I think is neat. Nothing against plastic binding, because I love it. One of the things that you guys know I love to do is have my binding ride over the ends of the frets. It takes a little bit of extra time, but I like the way it looks. You'll notice that this neck here, it's been radiused and the binding's already attached. It's maple binding to match what will be the maple reveal binding on the body. So this one, the frets will actually go over the binding, and I know a lot of people do prefer that because they get a little more fret real estate, and if there's ever a problem, refretting is definitely easier with this kind of setup. Of course, you can do wood binding with those little fret end nubs on it. It just makes buffing the frets a little tricky. So yeah, I like maple binding. I like the wedge fit neck, and guys, I've been a believer in the 7-degree headstock for as long as I've been making videos on YouTube. You guys know it. You might not even know, if you've ever heard someone say 7-degree headstock is the way to go, it is likely that they heard it from someone who heard it from me. However, I did not invent the 7-degree headstock. Someone much smarter than me, named Dan Armstrong, was a pioneer of the 7-degree headstock, and I'm sure there were lots of people before him too. So that's kind of what I think the Les Paul could have been. And like I said, I have to put salacious titles, because if I just said some reasons, there are some things that I like to do differently on Les Pauls, no one's going to watch the video. If I make a video called What Les Paul Got Wrong, or What Gibson Did Wrong, or the Les Paul's a lousily designed instrument, or something like that, then people will watch the video. I haven't decided what I'm going to call this one yet, but I'm going to try to irritate some people with just the title. Someone's going to say, Matt, you're worse than Ed Roman. I don't think I'm worse than Ed Roman. I actually really liked Ed Roman, and I really loved reading what he had to say. Of course, he didn't make a lot of friends with Gibson players, but that's okay. Ed Roman used to say, I'm going to paraphrase here, he used to say that he didn't think that the Les Paul was poorly designed. He didn't think it was designed at all. And in fact, I think that if you go back in history, you go back that 70 years or however old the Gibson Les Paul is, it's very, very similar to some other instruments they were already making, just solid body. And I think that we have the benefit of hindsight to say, gosh, if we could go back to 1954, I would design the instrument differently. And the real problem is, traditionalists like what they like. So all of my ideas, if you attempted to do this at Gibson and say we're going to go with a wedge fit neck and 7-degree headstock and wood binding, you wouldn't sell any guitars. You'd sell very, very few. Gibson guys like Gibson guitars, and I get that. I'm not trying to take that away from them. But from a manufacturer's standpoint, this guitar could be much easier to do. And in fact, I have figured out some ways that I like to do that when I'm building these guitars. So if you have any questions or comments, guys, I would love for you to leave them in the comment section. If you just want to tell me that, I'm stupid and I say and but a lot, I don't need to hear that. If you want to tell me how handsome I am, I always love to hear that. So, but yeah, leave stuff down in the comment section, and let's see what we can get going down there. Let me see please read the comment section too, and see if you can come to my rescue if I'm getting beat up by keyboard warriors. So until next time, guys, this is Matt from Texas Toast Guitars reminding you that if you're so smart, start your own YouTube channel. That's what I did. And have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.